and welcome back to Silent Seniors No More. I'm your host, Jamie Chiarla. Today, we're taking a short detour from the Florida Statute, Chapter 723, Mobile Home Park Issues and Government Accountability. But in many ways, this episode is about all of those things. Today, we're talking about a woman whose words continue to inspire people nearly a century later. A woman who believed that ordinary people matter. A woman who believed that every voice has value. A woman who understood that doing the right thing often comes with criticism. Today, we're talking about Eleanor Roosevelt. And we're going to begin with one of her most famous quotes. Do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you'll be criticized anyways. Let me repeat that. Do what you feel in your heart is right, for you'll be criticized anyways. Think about that for a moment. You'll be criticized anyway. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter how fair you are, someone will disagree. Someone will question your motives. Someone will tell you to sit down and be quiet. Eleanor Roosevelt understood that better than most. And perhaps that's why her words still resonate today. But who was Eleanor Roosevelt? Many people knew Eleanor Roosevelt as the first woman of the United States. What fewer people realize is that she transformed what it meant to be the First Lady. Before Eleanor Roosevelt, the role was largely ceremonial. After Eleanor Roosevelt, the role became one of leadership, advocacy, and public service. She traveled extensively. She met with ordinary citizens. She listened to workers, veterans, women, minorities, and people who often felt forgotten. She didn't stay hidden behind closed doors. She went out into communities. She listened, she learned, and she spoke up, sometimes when it wasn't very popular, especially when it wasn't very popular. One thing history often forgets is that Eleanor Roosevelt was criticized constantly. People attacked her appearance, they attacked her opinions, they attacked her activism, they attacked her willingness to challenge the status quo. Sound familiar? Because every generation has people who are uncomfortable when others begin asking questions. Every generation has people who prefer silence over accountability. Every generation has people who say, "Why are you making trouble? Why can't you just let it go? Why don't you stay in your own lane?" Eleanor Roosevelt heard all those things, and yet she continued, not because it was easy, but because she believed it was necessary. Now, some listeners may be wondering, Jamie, what does Eleanor Roosevelt have to do with seniors living in Florida? Quite a bit, actually, because the underlying issue is the same. It's about being heard. It's about believing that ordinary citizens matter. It's about understanding the laws mean very little to nobody is willing to speak up when they're ignored. It's about refusing to accept that age somehow diminishes your value. Too often, seniors are treated as though they should just simply accept whatever happens. Don't ask questions. Don't challenge decisions. Don't expect answers. Just don't rock the boat. Well, Eleanor Roosevelt spent her life proving that ordinary people have every right to ask questions. And perhaps that's a lesson we need now more than ever. History teaches us something very important. Major changes rarely happen because powerful people suddenly decide to do the right thing. Most changes begin when ordinary people refuse to remain silent. Workers demand safer conditions, women who demanded equal rights, veterans who demanded recognition, citizens who demanded accountability. Every one of those movements began when people who were told to be quiet, yet they spoke up anyways. Not because they were fearless, but because they understood that silence guarantees nothing changes. Silence is uncomfortable. Silence is safe. But silence rarely creates progress. One of the hardest parts of advocacy is discovering who stands beside you when things become difficult. Many people support causes when there is no risk involved. Many people cheer from the sidelines. Many people agree privately. But when criticism comes, when pressure comes, when relationships become uncomfortable, that's when you discover who is truly willing to stand with you. Eleanor Roosevelt experienced that, and many of us experience it today. Sometimes the people you thought who were friends become spectators. Sometimes they become critics. Sometimes they quietly disappear. That can be painful, but it can also be clarifying because movements are not built by popularity, they're built by perseverance. One of the reasons I started this podcast was because I saw seniors becoming discouraged. I saw people feeling powerless. I saw residents wondering if anyone was listening. I saw people afraid to speak, afraid to complain, afraid to question, afraid of what might happen if they did. Yet seniors possess something incredibly valuable: experience, wisdom, perspective, life lessons earned over decades. Those voices deserve to be heard, not ignored, not dismissed, not pushed aside. Eleanor Roosevelt understood that every person has worth, every person has dignity, every person deserves respect. That principle does not expire at retirement. It does not expire at 70, does not expire at 80, and it certainly does not expire at 90. The reason Eleanor Roosevelt remains relevant today is simple. She reminded us that citizenship is not a spectator sport. Democracy requires participation. Communities require participation. Accountability requires participation. Progress requires participation. Whether you're writing a letter, attending a meeting, helping a neighbor, volunteering, standing up for a cause, or simply asking a difficult question, you are participating, and participation matters. I want to leave you today with Eleanor Roosevelt's words one more time. Do what you feel in your heart is right, for you will be criticized anyway. Those words aren't just about politics, they're about life, they're about courage, they're about integrity, they're about choosing principle over popularity. And perhaps most importantly, they're about understanding that criticism is not proof that you're wrong. Sometimes criticism is simply proof that you're standing up. So if you've been wondering whether your voice matters, it does. If you've been wondering whether one person can make a difference, they can. And if you've been wondering whether it's worth speaking up, history suggests that it always is, because every meaningful change begins with someone decides that they will no longer remain silent. And that's exactly what Silent Seniors No More is all about. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep seeking answers, and even never underestimate the power of your voice, because silent seniors are silent no more.